Hello, my name is Vu. I'm part of the Skoll Foundation team, and I'm excited to welcome you all to the Skoll World Forum session, Gotas, Los Latidos de la Jungla, Heartbeats of the Jungle. The forum's theme this year is Closing the Distance, and we thought there was no better way to reflect that theme than to invite our global network to design and build a new kind of event together. Before we begin, I just wanted to share a few quick items. As mentioned in the chat, please be mindful that this session is being recorded and we will be releasing it publicly after the event. Please feel free to use the chat to engage with each other and ask questions of the speakers. And this session is scheduled for about an hour. And at the end, please take a few moments to complete the survey in the poll tab. You'll see it in between chat and peoples. We would definitely welcome your feedback. And for those on social media, we're using the hashtag SkollWF, and would love for you to do the same. We're very thrilled to be able to include this session in this year's virtual Skoll World Forum. And for those of you who attended or watched the opening plenary, I'm sure you'll agree one of the highlights was the stunning closing performance by Liana Malva. Liana is a Venezuelan artist, multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter who has racked up millions of plays from fans around the world. Besides collaborating with Los Amigos Invisibles and Desorden Público, two of the most important bands in Venezuelan history, Liana will also be releasing her highly anticipated debut album later this year. But in addition to her musical world, Liana is also a passionate nature activist and founder of Gotas, an organization which aims to promote sustainable development and environmental protection to one of the most ancient sacred areas in Venezuela. Gotas promotes the beauty of her native country through art and environmental education, emphasizing the importance of protecting the rivers, cultural heritage, and natural reserves for future generations. With that, I'd like to give a warm welcome to Liana and her team from Gotas.
Hi, Budin. Thank you very much for the introduction. Hi, everybody. Good to be here. Well, I'm going to start breaking the ice with a song. This song is called Mérida, and it says something like this. Una esperanza ha nacido, sembrada en la montaña, desde la tierra brota como el agua, desde la naciente del río, una oportunidad. Me dice tu cara que quiere encontrar y bendita tu mirada, que desnuda mi alma y me hace respirar. La razón de estar vivos me recuerda que este es mi lugar, a donde sea que camino me quiera llevar, lejos del mar. Voy a estar, allá te espero, mi amor, donde los niños bailan, con el alma te cantan. Thank you. So I'm going to start with my presentation. Welcome, everybody. My name is Liana Malva. I am a singer-songwriter from Venezuela, and today I'll be telling you a little bit of my story, my work, and a very special project called Gotas. Let me put the presentation. My name is Liana Malva. I am a singer-songwriter from Venezuela, and today I'll be telling you a little bit of my story, my work, and a very special project. My story began thanks to my parents. They wanted to do something different with their lives, and although everybody told them they were crazy, they filled up with courage and decided to follow their dream of raising their children and have life in contact with nature. So when I was born, my family moved from the capital city, Caracas, to El Paují, a rural community of less than 300 people, among them Venezuelans of all parts of the country, foreigners, and the Pemon indigenous ethnic group. This little town is nestled between La Gran Sabana, the Great Savanna of Venezuela, and the Amazon rainforest, next to the border with Brazil, and many people say it is known as the Lost World, recalling to the book written by British author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and published in 1912. And it's because this is the most ancient place on Earth. There are landscapes that make you think you are in another planet, and the energy there is something that I've never experienced in other places. It's like you're connected to the ground. You feel the earth is alive, that you're part of it, and it's easy to be touched by the beauty of nature. There are rivers and of all colors and sizes, waterfalls and lagoons, and the perfect weather to enjoy them. Here are the iconic tabletop mountains, called the Tepuis. There are hundreds of them, but the most famous are Mount Roraima and the Tepuy, where is the highest waterfall of the planet, the Angel Falls, or Querepacupay Vena, plunges down from 979 meters. And many of the flora and fauna is endemic, meaning that it only exists here. La Gran Sabana is on the top of the Guayana Massive Rock Mountain, and it's of the size of France. The Pemon call it Tanotei, and it means the mother rock. When I think about it, I realize I lived in paradise, and I was very, very lucky to grow up there. I was raised free, wild, timeless. Our lives in nature were a total adventure. We lived in this house my father built, far away from the community, in the middle of a valley, where our closest neighbors were 2 kilometers away. We had a river in the backyard, and that was the most special thing I will ever have. I can't explain to you how much that place means to me. Living in nature taught me so many things, like how everything is connected, that true happiness is filled with the most simple things, that we are part of nature, and what happens to her affects all of us. And the most important, that we need to defend and take care of her simply because we cannot live without water, without air, without jungles, oceans, and all the ecosystems. Everything we need to survive comes from nature, and we constantly forget about this. Thanks to the educations my parents gave me, I am aware of the importance of being respectful with Mother Nature. So I grew up with this idea that is sacred and that we needed to protect that place we love so much. After 8 years living here, my family decided to move back to the city. Things were very difficult in paradise, and our parents wanted to give us a proper education and opportunities in life. It was very, very hard, especially for me and my siblings, to adapt to this new world, full of pollution, noise, people, walls. This was the concrete jungle. And many times I got sick and depressed, but not everything was so bad. I found my passion and started to study and make music. I discovered that one of my favorite things was writing songs and using music to connect with people through emotions and lyrics with a message. While we were living in Caracas, we always traveled around different places in Venezuela looking for nature. And I found that my whole country was amazing. Until this day, on the holidays, we always go back to our favorite place, Achipapay, our house in La Gran Sabana. After years living in Caracas, this place became my home too, and now I enjoy living here. I got to travel and live in other countries, and I discovered what it meant to have a sense of belonging. I missed everything from home, especially nature. I think that there are very special places in the world, of course, but definitely Venezuela is one of the most privileged ones. We have it all to become a great country and the touristic paradise. But not everybody sees that. Not everyone values that we have so much potential and the virgin country full of resources and natural beauties. Instead, Venezuela has undergone its worst crisis with violence, devaluation, poverty, and migration records where things like art, ecology, and the environment are not a priority. All this contrast made me think that the world is pretty much upside down, and I felt the need to give something back to this place that has given me so much and try to make a difference. I believe that everybody has that potential. A person alone cannot do everything, but everyone can do something. And if we all do something, we will definitely change the course of the world. So I thought I could do my part through music, because music has the power to transform. It has a profound influence on society, and it gets to people's hearts. And that's how Gotas was born. Gotas in English means drops. This project started as a musical journey inspired in Venezuela. I wanted to share my vision and love for this country with the world, to remind the Venezuelans that all this beauty is ours to enjoy, but also to take care of, because some of these paradises are endangered, including my home. Until this day, we've recorded 3 musical videos of songs I wrote in these magical places, including El Paují, my home, La Tortuga, a Caribbean paradise, and Mérida. In the Venezuelan Andes, in the middle of the mountains, I was inspired to talk about keeping hope alive, besides what we have been through as a country, and finding that strength we have inside ourselves to work for a better future. Gotas is an invitation for everybody to appreciate and protect nature and put their drop in making our world a better place. One thing I will never forget was going out from school and taking a plunge in the river. Today, the story took another run. Many of those rivers are now being destroyed, and the children can no longer bath in the town river natural pool, because now it's a dead forest with mercury in its veins, where only man's ambition can bathe. Now it's a gold mine. It turns out that under the surface of La Gran Sabana, there are huge amounts of gold, diamonds, and other minerals. But the real treasure is not under the ground. The real treasure of La Gran Sabana is its nature, its water, the people and the indigenous communities that are the cultural heritage of Venezuela. 80% of the water resources of Venezuela come from this place, and Venezuela is the 12th country with the largest reserves of water in the planet. I think that's very important. In addition, this place should be a protected area because it's a national park called Canaima National Park and was also declared World Heritage Site since 1994 by UNESCO. So mining is illegal here, and this shouldn't be happening at all. Currently, 70% of the largest river that gathers all the water from La Gran Sabana, called Caroni River, is contaminated with mercury, gas oil, and sediments due to illegal mining. This alarming situation encouraged me to take actions and communicate a message of awareness, promote the care of the most important resource for life sustainability, water. I had the idea of using my music as a tool for young people to learn about nature. But I couldn't do this alone. This is why I consolidated a partnership with NGO Provita, one of the top environmental organizations of Venezuela. And together with my music and their scientific knowledge, we have taken our conservation flag to schools and universities, connecting with over 4,500 children and youngsters, motivating them to arouse their curiosity for nature and their transformational power through art and environmental education. The history of mining in Bolívar State, where La Gran Sabana is located, goes back to 60 or 70 years. But inside La Gran Sabana, this is a new problem, and it has increased in the last 5 to 6 years because of the deep crisis we're going through as a country. There is no tourism or other economic activities to survive. So almost everybody is depending on mining. And this is a destructive cycle that only gets to misery, slavery, and the total destruction of the environment and our cultural heritage. However, we still have time. We know that many of these people in these communities are aware of the consequences of mining and longing for opportunities to become a part of the solution. On December 2019, that was the last time I went back to El Paují, and I saw the accelerated destruction that mining is causing in my town. I thought we needed to do something else. We needed to have an impact in this place, save those ecosystems that are so important for the Venezuelans and for the world, and help those people now, because otherwise there will be no more El Paují. I had a new idea, and we've been working very hard through the pandemic time as a multidisciplinary team in the development of what is going to be the next chapter of Gotas, a social intervention model with the goal of creating opportunities together with the community of El Paují in order for them to get out from the ruling destructive cycle to a new sustainable productive cycle that will allow us to preserve these rivers and these ecosystems of this unique place. So we are Gotas, the heartbeats of the jungle, and welcome everybody to our panel. I'm going to introduce you to Carlos Vargas, one of my team members, and he's going to be the moderator of the panel. Hello, Carlos.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Liana. Please share your thoughts of this amazing pitch that Liana just did over the comments. Please confirm for me, Liana, or the team that you guys are hearing me in the chat. Yes, people are already sharing their love. Well, myself, I've heard this speech over and over, but every time I hear it, I get more and more inspired. So thank you so much, Liana, for sharing this. So my name is Carlos Eduardo Vargas. As Liana said, I'll be your moderator today. I have the honor and privilege of being responsible of marketing and PR in Gotas. I'm also a social entrepreneur, and I love that we are all here today just sharing about the work that Gotas is doing. I'm seeing 56 people right now are connected, so please share your introductions through the chat, your expectations about what you guys are going to hear today, because we are going to have a lot of fun over the next minutes. So please remind also, let me remind you that this session will be recorded. So if you guys want to share it afterwards with people for the Gotas message to be shared with others, you can do so by all means through the YouTube channel of the Skoll Foundation or the website of the Skoll Foundation as well. Thank you so much, Skoll, for inviting us. And well, we are so excited to be here. I hope that you guys saw Liana's presentation yesterday because it was amazing. Please share in the comments if you guys already saw it. How do you thought about it? And well, this is Gotas, the heartbeats of the jungle. Again, so happy to be here. Please take into account that if you have any questions, think about it. By the end of the panel, we'll have a small Q&A session of 10 minutes. So please write it down, share it in the chat. I'll be more than happy to comprise those and use it at the end so we can answer it. Okay. So I have to introduce here in Venezuela we have a word that when two people have the same name we call it tocayos. So in the Gotas team we have 3 tocayos, right? Because I'm Carlos Eduardo Vargas, but we have Carlos Peláez as well and Carlos Aguiló, who I will ask for them if they can turn on their cameras so people can see you guys. And I'll be introducing first Carlos Peláez. So Carlos is a biologist, and it is also a knowledge advisor in Gotas. Of the NGO specific knowledge about what Gotas is all about. And then we have Carlos Aguiló. Carlos is the operating officer of Gotas, but he's also a specialist on business and strategy. And he's going to talk to us a lot about the intervention model that we are aiming with Gotas. Carlos has led impact and technological projects here in Venezuela for over 7 years. So it is really, really an honor to have you both, Carlos. We'll talk about Carlos Peláez, and then with Caco, as we call it, with friends call it Caco, so that we all have different way to approach us as tocayos, okay? So yeah, guys, I don't know if you want to say hi to the people that are seeing us. As I said, right now we're 56. Phil, I saw that he's sharing the YouTube link as well. I'm seeing a lot of comments here, connections with activism, saying hi from a lot of places, Rwanda, the US, Belarus. So we have a lot of people from around the world. We're so happy to be here. But yeah, let's jump into the questions. And of course, well, Liana just disconnected for a second, probably a technical problem, but Liana will also be in the panel, of course. You already know Liana, the head and founder of Gotas, but also the singer-songwriter that is here in Venezuela creating music to share her message all around the world. So you'll have a lot more from Liana in a couple of minutes as well, so don't worry about that. And well, let's start with Carlos Peláez. Carlos, thank you so much for being here. And the first thing that we need to discuss about that Liana mentioned in her speech is the thing about illegal mining and the pollution on water resources in Venezuela and in the world, right? So tell us, please, in your scientific knowledge, in your expertise, what's the real dimension on that problem? Like, what situations does pollution generate in water bodies in our country, and even how it's connected with illegal mining here in Venezuela? Thank you again for being here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for connecting. My name is Carlos Peláez. I'm an ecologist. I've been because I'm a scientific educator, so I care of the educational part of the project, in terms of ecology. But I'm also working at an NGO, specifically monitoring the situation in the Venezuelan Amazon. So the thing is, the conducting thread of this project is water, and in the tropics, water means forest. You don't have water, you don't have forests. And south of the Orinoco River, which is the south of the country, we have one of the oldest lands in the world. It's been there for about 20 million years. So it means that it's a place rich with biodiversity because of how old it is, but it's also a very poor soil. It has not many nutrients for plant life. So that forest is, it exists there because it's been there for 20 million years and has evolved a lot of mechanism to recycle every last nitrogen, every last phosphorus. So 83% of that area is covered by forest, which means a lot of water and a very, very healthy environment. But it also has gold. It doesn't have huge amounts of gold, but it has enough gold to be profitable right now. And the gold is not in a mine. It's like diffused in the sand and in the loam. And in order to extract it, you have to fell and deforest a lot of area. So that's the problem with the nature of the extraction of minerals south of the Orinoco River. Since 2000, we have lost around 2,400 square kilometers of forest, which is around the same area as Luxembourg. Only 450 of those are because of mining. But the consequences of mining downriver are very, very acute, because in order to take out the gold, you have to use mercury, and in these illegal conditions, the mercury ends up in the water again. So we have rivers that are contaminated with mercury, and the mercury accumulates in the food that are consumed by humans. The sediment, because you always mine next to a river and you remove the sediment, and these river ecosystems that are supposed to be clear water are now filled with sediment, which alters completely the environment of that river. So it has a lot of implications in terms of contamination. It has a lot of implications in terms of climate because of the disappearance of the forest. And it has a lot of social implications because this is essentially an illegal mining operation, even though it's backed by the people in power. So it creates a lot of problem of violence, like slavery, lack of access to public services, particularly health. So it's socially, it's a very dire situation south of the Orinoco. And the Gotas project is, in a way, it contrasts sustainability with extraction and tries to find a way to steer towards sustainability and give an alternative to the people that live this drama south of the Orinoco, and to conserve that very old, very biodiverse jungle. So water in this project becomes a symbol of that, a symbol of sustainability. Even though we focus on educating about water as a subject, it becomes the symbol of a new future for south of the Orinoco.
Thank you, Carlos. And it's amazing that you can give us the whole scope of what Gotas is actually fighting for, and that it is not a problem, it's not a concrete problem, but rather is a network of issues that are around contamination and pollution on what regards to water. It is not a project, it is rather a project every aspects of society and how society can do something about it, as Liana and her team is working on right now. And it is also interesting that you say that Gotas is a symbol, because precisely that symbol was the one that you and Liana carry out in our country in the workshops on 2018 and 2019 for over 4,500 people. So that's a lot of people. And especially young people, right? Like children and youngsters. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how do you met Liana? What were those workshops about? And maybe some impact story of something that you saw over that period of time that you can share with the audience. And please, the audience, continue your chat and the questions. We're loving it. Thank you so much for all the love for Gotas. Go ahead, Carlos.
I think the way we met was, if you look at from abroad, it was mundane even, because she had an idea for this project that is an educational project on environment issues, and she went to an NGO that specializes in environmental issues, which is where I worked at, and I was the head of the education department, so it was a very institutional match. The thing is, if you look at for abroad, you maybe don't see it, but this kind of institute is a very rebellious thing. Like right now, this morning, we woke up with the news that there were these new laws that are designed essentially to impede the work of NGOs. So this was actually a very rebellious step to do it institutionally, right? So that's kind of the story of how we met. And the thing is, the Gotas project allowed me as an educator to experiment. And that was very interesting for me, because I've always wanted to experiment in education and to see how it was that I could convey the message in a better way. And I say I because we all have to convey messages. So I was thinking, what do I do? Do I play games? Do I find like these really weird big man words demonstration? And it's not my style. So I designed the talks in a way that I thought would suit me and would be interesting to the kids. And what I discovered is that if we don't underestimate the ability of the kids to understand complex concepts, they will respond by thanking you that you didn't underestimate them. Maybe they don't understand everything, but they become curious about the subject. So we had very interesting interaction with these kids, and it didn't matter if they were private school or public school, or maybe they didn't have a good educational background, but they were very, very thankful for the opportunity to be treated as thinking individuals. That was very important a very important lessons that I took from the project. And the other one was the match between art and science in terms of education, because the kids have different sensibilities, and some of them are more scientific and some of them are more artistic. And this match just opened everyone's mind to the message. And they were different languages to convey the same message. And it worked like a clock. I think we had a lot of impact on those kids because they were excited about the music, but they were also excited about the knowledge. And I think that's one of the products of the match between the music and interesting, profound science, not just a scientific message that's been dampened so the very primordial mind of a kid can get something out of it. No, we talk to them with everything we know, as if they were equals to us.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Carlos. Please share your love for Carlos and the work that he's doing with Provita and as an ecologist. Thank you so much, Carlos. I believe that there's a lot of wisdom within your presentation and what you just said. As you said, it was a coincidence, you may think, that you ran on with Liana, but it was not, because right now you're here and Gotas is moving forward thanks of the work that you did. So it was probably a cause, right, of this effect that Gotas is now doing. And you wake this curiosity for young people to learn about water and to learn about environment protection. So it's great. And as you said, you created this model of art and culture with scientific knowledge, which we'll talk later on with Liana as well in some minutes. But thank you so much, Carlos Peláez, for that amazing input. But we now have to move, because people are saying in the chat that they want to know about the sustainable model, about what we are going to do in El Paují. But before that, I would like to ask Caco, Carlos Aguiló, as we call him, regarding the sustainable models, like regarding regeneration and these interventions to fight climate change and environmental destruction. What's the value on those models in order for us to face these challenges that we live today?
Well, hey all, and thanks Carlos for the opportunity, and Liana and the Gotas project. It's been an amazing experience to be able to be a part of Gotas team and well, just see the projects that are coming for this year. But you ask about the regenerative models, right? So I'd say there's a lot of information right now, obviously, about this race against climate change, and many people just know already the time is of the essence, and just we're not doing it at a fast enough pace to be able to solve problems. So we actually see how this maybe legacy approaches we have, which have of course a lot of impact, but are not enough just to mitigate the current climate crisis. And they obviously fall short when confronting complex local problems in emerging economies like Venezuela. Obviously, Venezuela is a very complex situation right now, but we also need regenerative approaches that can be locally applied. So we believe that these new regenerative approaches are needed if we want to leapfrog solution in emerging economies. And we're trying to innovate maybe in two ways. I'd say it's two innovative aspects. In one side, we're trying to harness the power of this digital revolution to make it more a green revolution and bring the green revolution to the mainstream, scenario. And obviously, as you might know, users navigating right now social networks, they have less than a 10-second time. They're going through content like it's, whatever, very fast. And people are saturated with tons of information. So right now, misinformation comes from this overload of information as we see it. And we're trying to curate great content to build real interactive communities and conversations online and be able to catch the attention of these audiences by applying art and music. And in a different perspective, we're also trying to innovate bridging digital communities. We're trying to create actually new marketplaces. So impact projects and creative capital goods and services could be exchanged. So we have this same generation of users already in the internet looking for whatever information they want in a click and in a millisecond. So if we are able to build bridges between our followers, between supporters and new audiences with the marketplace of goods and services in El Bají, like for example, just living the experience of ecotourism that is already available at El Bají, we believe we'll be able to create a new marketplace that could impact in a sustainable way for the local community of El Bají. So yeah, we're trying to innovate in this ways. We're also very humble. We'll know there's a lot of knowledge in the world, so we invite everybody that has a regenerative approach to be able to come along and just give us their advice so that we can scale this solution to other remote communities, which is also a very important thing for us.
That's amazing, Carlos. And I think that this model, again, as Liana's speech, with every time I hear about this model using first education and content and now digital content, but with a community and people that can be a part of the solution, and then an actual, working the ground with the beneficiaries that of the initiative. I think it's a round model, as you said, it's a sustainable model, and that's why we are aiming. And I love the idea of people hearing about it in the chat. I love that also things are connecting within the chat as well with the people from Skoll Foundation and the participants in this event. So thank you so much about that. But let me take you a step back, because we had a lot of meetings last year on 2020 and with the birth of the pandemic. And I think that this precisely that you mentioned just a minute ago was, born within what COVID-19 allow us, if you can say that, to happen, right? So how was that experience? I lived it, but I want you to share it with the audience. How was the 2020 experience with Liana, with the team, and what you can take from that experience?
Well, yeah, as you said, 2020 was quite a year, right? And we started working on new ideas early in 2020 to bring this new model for regeneration in the Gotas project. My role actually in the team is helping create this structure and sustainable business model or impact model for Gotas. But obviously, when we heard about COVID-19, like any other teams in the world, we just went to lockdown in our cities. We had to do remote work. And actually, we started very sadly monitoring the impact of COVID-19 was having on our project. And I can share just an anecdote that was really a moment of change in the project. That one time we were discussing in one of those Wednesdays afternoons, and we heard the news. Liana came to the chat room, and she told us the tragic news that there was a wildfire, an illegal wildfire in El Bají that had just burned one of her family's houses. So obviously this was like seeing in real time how the impact and the deterioration of the problem in El Bají was happening due to the COVID-19 crisis. So nevertheless, obviously we kept on working, and we did collaboration with allies, bridging or creating digital experience in 2020. And this led us to a very important alliance with an organization called EPOSAC, which is a leading nonprofit organization that promotes the sustainable development and tourism in our country. So yeah, we're partnering with that was born in 2020, that partnership, and we're bringing it to El Bají this 2021 one in our intervention model. So yeah, 2020 was quite an experience, and we're ending it here with a Skoll.org forum. So it's been quite an opportunity and quite a rush the past 12 months.
That's amazing, Kako. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that as well. And please share with Kako all your thoughts. I'm seeing Guayana Paez Acosta in the chat. Hey to Guayana, who has been a really supporter of this Gotas initiative, and everyone that is sharing their love from India, from Rwanda, from the US, from every corner of the world. Thank you so much about it. We have taken questions. Please continue sharing those. But we're coming to the final part of the panel. And of course, as we started with that amazing speech from Liana, we want to close again with Liana's input on some of the issues that has been raised in this conversation. I met Liana a couple of years ago through, as Carlos Peláez said, a cause for another project that I'm involved with regarding hip hop. And Liana, well, in that first moment, told us about what she was doing with Gotas and told us her story about El Paují. And it is funny to see how today El Paují is our next step, right? Going to El Paují, working there, as Carlos Aguiló, Kako said previously. So Liana, please share us a little bit more about that, about El Paují. Why are we starting there? What's the value? What's the importance of El Paují for Gotas and for Venezuela?
Again, everybody. Well, in addition to my emotional connection with El Paují and the desire to protect my home, like Kako said, the past year, one of my houses was burned and, down to ashes. And that was like a really wake-up call to work and do something to save my house, because we're disconnected now with the COVID-19 from El Paují. It's like the situation to get there now, it's harder and difficult, but we'll manage to get there this year. But undoubtedly, the nature and the beauty of this place, full of jungles, it's a territory worth to protect. Here are the water springs of Caroni River, and these springs are polluted. If these springs are polluted from their source, the mercury would leave its trace all along their course until the Caroni River reaches the sea, contaminating the ecosystems and the water that the communities down the river depend on. We see an intervention is possible because my family and I still part of the community, and we are acquainted with many people. Some of our relatives still live there, and there are lots of people who have the potential of being agents of change. And we know for a fact that they are willing to work and develop projects with sustainable ideals as an alternative to mining. What they need is support and opportunities to become models to be followed. We also count on infrastructure like my other house, the one that wasn't burned, and other houses and inns that have been closed and working just for maintenance. At the present time, El Paují's population may be approximately 450 people at the most, and it seems to be a very manageable figure with a possibility of intervention. We see that this could become a replicable model to other communities inside La Gran Sabana, because they're all having the same problems with mining, deforestation, and human rights. On the other hand, the gold rush mobs and conflicts have not arrived to El Paují yet. So we are in time to become an attractive alternative to the current gold economy that is destroying this unique and valuable place. I think those are the main reasons.
Thank you, Liana, so much. And as you guys, from the participants in this event, can see, Liana is so passionate. It is something that is from her, that she has of the voice that is happening in El Paují. And it's so interesting because El Paují, as Liana says, is the perfect pilot project for what we're going to do. It's not the only step we're going to take, but it's the first step. And it is the heart of Gotas, as Liana is mentioning, and it is in all over social networks related to Gotas. So
yes.
just to close this, Liana, final question for me to you before we enter into the Q&A for the last 5 to 7 minutes. What do you think is the connection between your work, like arts, culture, music, and the work that Carlos Peláez and myself are doing regarding, for example, science and social development? Like, what's the importance on creating a bridge between those two worlds, and how do you see it as in Gotas?
Well, that mixture achieved in Gotas, mixing arts, music, environmental, education, and science, and well, that sense of belonging, of course, was a total success. We know that it's very powerful because music represents the channel to delivering this message that sometimes is not well received or has a limited scope. Few people want to learn about the problems in the world, and that changing this reality depends on us. The ecological message has its restrictions, whether due to denial or lack of interest. However, through music and culture, as well as through the power of influence that our allies and ambassadors, artists and influencers makes art, we firmly believe that the message becomes easier to be understood. It transcends a lot more and connects with the emotions, causing a more receptive response. And when you manage to get the attention of people through entertainment, they listen. They get to the message, and after they have an interest, an awareness wake-up call, or a concern have been created, you are educating and giving them the tools to be a part of the solution. And so,
yeah, that's it. I mean, that's what we're doing. That's the importance. That's the value of it. I would like to thank again to Liana for what she's doing, the effort that Liana put in from day one in this project, and that is now in the Skoll World Forum, and it is, worldwide known from people. I see people from Germany, I see people from other countries in the world. Thank you so much, Liana, and of course the whole entire Gotas team, including myself. This has been an amazing journey, but we want to take the final of this panel to answer some questions. And the first one, and the most important one, is about supporting Gotas, right? I hope that you guys are as in love of Gotas as we are, and I've seen that in all of the comments asking to support Gotas. So I'll start with Liana, and then if any of my tocayos would like to jump in and say, how can we support Gotas, please go ahead and do so. Let's try to be brief in order for us to have more questions, because there are a lot. Thank you about that engagement as well. So Liana, how can we support Gotas? How can people support Gotas?
Well, everybody can help us just by adding their voices to our campaign, showing these places around the world, and showing the news and the environmental situation that is happening in this place, and well, communicating that this is a very valuable place for the Venezuelan people, but for the world, of course. And well, economically assisting in order to give a go to this first stage of the project. And well, upon carrying out this first intervention stage, users may visit us in La Gran Sabana and buy the products made by the community of El Paují. We want to make purpose products and ship them around the world, because there are a lot of things that can be done there. Myself, my parents live from the tourism. They had a store where they sell our products, and well, we think that's a very possible way to help, like buying these products or donating or going to El Paují, and of course sharing this information.
Yep, that's right. I drop out in the chat our user in Instagram and also our email from Gotas. So if you guys would like to connect, as Liana said, please follow those or message those. Seeing Kako would like to make a comment on supporting. So please, Kako.
Yes. No, sure. I'm just answering in the chat to the questions. And yeah, just to reinforce what Liana was saying, we have 3 lines of strategic action this year. The first will be continuing of obviously our campaign, our artistic campaign in social networks. So we're trying to build brand ambassador networks of any artists, international artists that can come along to create new content. You're welcome, please. We want to create content with you, but also producers and just people that are willing to help us produce more and more content. This is never enough for us, right? In the second line of action, we are bringing our educational model again back to schools, but this time in a hybrid experience. Obviously, we have remote classes, and we have to understand that the COVID-19 in our country is going to be a lot more than 2021. So anybody that has real good educational content that wants to share, or people that want support us to produce this content and sharing us with students in schools and universities, please come along. And finally, for the third line of action, we're doing our intervention in El Paují. So we already have the local change makers, and we have the alliances with NGOs that are working to promote sustainable tourism. So we want to go to El Paují, and we need a lot of support for this. As Liana said, it's really crazy. We wouldn't imagine what it's like going to the moon. It's probably easier than going to El Paují right now. So we need all the experience and also the financial support to be able to make this reality in El Paují something that actually can be impactful. And we are, as a first milestone, we're going to bridge internet. We're going to bring clean energy and satellite internet to El Paují. That's like the first stage of the intervention in the cultural hub. But well, all the experience and help that you can give us in this sense will also be very, very appreciated.
Thank you, Kako. Thank you so much. We have 4 minutes left. I have 2 questions regarding everything that has been mentioned. I would like to ask you guys, I don't know, someone that can answer, like the biggest challenge of Gotas. There was a lot of people that were asking about what are you against, like what are your most important battles that you are right now struggling in Gotas. So anybody who would like to jump in and says, what's our biggest challenge at this point?
Well, obviously the growth of the project always implies more resources and more alliances and more networks. Somebody in the chat asked, how is your relationship with the private sector? I would say, well, we have a good relationship with local private sector, but don't forget that Venezuela is in the biggest economic crisis of its history. So the private sector is actually very weak right now. So we need these international alliances. We hope this experience at Skoll is the beginning for this new relationships for the project. And there's a big challenge there. Also, in the relationship to the government, we're very agnostic with our relationship to the government. We want to try to be very focused on impact and not on the political narratives, because there's a lot of polarization here in Venezuela, and we want to be able to surf that polarization for our message to get across.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Kako. And well, just to close this panel, people at the end, in a quote, in just a phrase. I love Nina's question, so I would like to end with this. Like, what's the biggest joy or fun that you guys have had? And I'll answer it myself at the end as well. Just in a quote or in a phrase, what's the biggest fun or the biggest joy moment that you have had with Gotas while you has been in this team? So Liana would like to start.
Yes, for me, well, has been the response of the kids and the students with this message. They tend to receive it and like embrace it, and they feel what you're telling them and explaining, and they understand the value of nature, and to see that they are so awake, it's very, 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 very amazing. We have cried
Thank you, Liana.
Gotas activities in
Thank you,
school.
Liana.
watching the response of the children, because it gets very, very emotional.
That's true. What about the tocayos?
Yeah, I think I would say the same. It's very. Yeah, I would say the same. It's the working with kids. To me, one of the things. I mean, I love it when the kids come in to the auditorium and they look like, oh cow, another talk. But at the end of the talk, they ask questions, and I always get very excited when they ask questions. And one of the things that have made me the most joyful with this is that sometimes we go to public schools that have a clear disadvantage, educational disadvantage from other schools that we visit. And the kids and the teachers are very thankful that we are bringing quality content to their school and to their educations, because they're almost used to that. They don't deserve it, right? Because they go to public school, they always expect the content to be low quality, the facilitators to be uninterested, and they react very well to the fact that we treat them with the same attention to detail, and without dampening the message as we would with everyone else.
Thank you.
Yeah, so,
thank you, Carlos.
I
Caco,
would just quickly say, like, we like to have fun. Liana is a singer. We love music. We also never forget to dance. And I believe if you will go to El Paují, you will find this one of the most amazing experiences of your life, without a doubt. So I invite you all to just be interested in going there. It's not only fun, it's probably life-changing.
Word.
Transcendental, I would say.
Word to that.
I know people
Word to that. Thank you so much, guys, for this.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. We're short of time. Thank you, guys.
We're going to the networking session, so see you at the networking sessions.
We'll be in the networking session with the Connect tool that you have in your panel at the right. Share this link in YouTube with your peers. Continue being drops and gotas that create this movement that is unstoppable. And thank you to the Skoll Foundation. Thank you, Carlos, our tocayos, and of course, thank you, Liana, for leading this.
Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.